Good evening. Good evening. I would like to welcome you to this live Instagram live. This is the second time I'm trying. Hopefully, you're doing great. I'm going live. I have a guest here. Hey, Stephanie.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. I'm just talking. Thanks for joining. I hope everything's. I'm just start this broadcast, and it's my second time I'm doing this, so I'm getting used to this.
Yeah.
So can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, yeah, I can hear you well too. Yeah, last time I had an interview with somebody, we it was like our audio was really bad. I
Oh
was like,
no.
well, I cringed on that, but that's fine. Live and learn, correct?
Yeah.
How's things been?
They've been good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those of you don't know or know, Stephanie and I, we used to run races for a while. It's been a long. We have not raced, but I remember back in like I think there's one race you and I just kind of going back and forth,
We
and
were, yep.
and you looked at me, I looked at you, and I don't know who went first, but we kind of finished them together.
We did. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
remember who won, but yeah, we were right together at the end of
yeah,
it.
we're like looking at the finish line, so it was fun. So it's been a while. We haven't seen you. I know life has moved on. You
Yeah.
didn't have a kids back then, and now
Yeah.
you have few of your little ones. So
Yeah.
definitely. Stephanie, those of you who don't know you, tell us about yourself.
Okay.
I know you're a runner. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm Stephanie. I am a runner, like Suman said. I've been a runner for a long time. Done a lot of marathons, half marathons, pretty much everything. It has slowed down a little bit now that I have four kids, but still running. And I'm also a physical therapist, and so I've been a physical therapist for I think almost 14 years now. So it's been a long time. Mainly worked with outpatient orthopedic patients, a lot of sports injuries, and just started kind of sharing physical therapy exercises online, especially on Instagram, some on TikTok too, but and YouTube, but Instagram is the main one, and just kind of help people online with all types of injuries, and a lot of runners, but a lot of just your average person too. I'm a runner, so I like treating runners, but I like treating everyone too. So that's kind of what I focused on, just a lot of injury recovery, prevention of injuries, and just sharing things that can help anyone who's in pain.
Definitely. I remember. I think that you said 14. I think back when we met, you just moved to Birmingham. I think
Yep.
something like that. So were you a runner before? When I met you, when you were running, or you kind of picked up that later. I think you're a runner, correct?
Yeah. I was actually a swimmer when I was younger, but I've always liked to run. My dad's been a runner forever, so kind of after college, I started running more seriously. That's when I started doing marathons.
So you grew up in Chicago area,
I
correct? Is
did,
that
yeah.
okay? So how's the running in Chicago? Like, did you like I say did you do high school running, or you're just a recreational runner, or well, what kind of runner were you when you were growing up?
Well, I ran track in high school, and
Gotcha.
then in college, I just kind of ran in the off season. I was on the swim team at my college, and then I like to run, so I just ran whenever I was in the off season. And then after I graduated from college, I just started running more because I had more time, and I like to run.
So do you still run a lot now, or because I don't see I don't see you running a lot of marathon. Do you still do marathons now, or
I do.
what do you do?
Well, so I haven't done a marathon. The last marathon I did was in 2019. And
Oh,
so it's been a while.
it's been a
I
while.
have run quite a few half marathons. I did the Mississippi Gulf Coast half marathon in December. And my husband, Zach, he did the full marathon. I was planning on doing that, and then the training didn't go that well. So I actually switched to the half marathon. But hopefully I'll do another marathon soon.
So you're still running fast, both of you. I remember whenever we were in the group, both of you just take off like there's the fast.
Yeah, well, he's way faster than me.
You're
But
still running fast. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen you guys, and I didn't get out as much as my life changed a lot in my running. But definitely talk about your running wise. When you were when before you said you have four kids now. I see them on your feed sometime.
yeah.
But tell us about raising kids and running. Let's kind of go that direction for a few
Okay.
minutes, and It's very interesting. A lot of moms, listening or parents, and I was running two girls, and and running was a priority, but at the same time not a priority.
Yeah.
Because you gotta balance that. Talk about that balance.
Yeah, so at first, I think it wasn't, my running didn't change a whole lot when I had my first son because Zach would usually push him in the stroller. So we ran probably just as much as we ran before we had kids because he was little, we could push him in the stroller. And so I was still running a lot of marathons then. And then I had my second son and same thing because we got a double stroller and then either Zach would push him in the double or we'd each push him in the single. But then as they got a little older and then we had two more girls, it got a little tougher because I mean, my oldest is 9, so you can't push him in a stroller. And actually he started, well, my two boys, they're 9 and 7, so they actually ride their bikes while we run. But, you can only go so far. They can't bike, 10 plus miles. So it's kind of, if you're going to run with them, it's like 3 or 4 miles max. Occasionally more, but they can't really ride that far. So yeah, it's been a little difficult. Occasionally we have, our parents can help watch them or Zach's sisters occasionally will watch them and we can run a little further. But yeah, it's definitely, I don't run quite as much as I used to just because of time and the kids are in activities now. So it's hard to find the time to run because they take priority, but also, I mean, running's still important to me. I like to run. So I still try to make time for it. It's just hard to make as much time for it.
Definitely.
So,
17 years now. My daughters will be 18.
yeah.
And when she was just born, I started running. I started running late in my life, and I remember I used to leave their mom was going shopping or something, and I'll leave them open all my backyard. I'll open all the blinds and then leave them inside and just run my backyard. That's all.
Yeah.
And I eventually did a backyard marathon, but back then I was just kind of doing, just a little circle
Yeah.
here, and so yeah, it worked out well. But definitely, it's a challenging when you have a small one. So definitely, you kind of make that running priority as well. That's really important because. Did you run the marathon during that time? I mean, over the years, you say 2019 is the last time
Yeah.
you ran a marathon, correct? So marathon training does take a lot of time, so definitely. So
It does, yeah. Yeah, and it was easier when we just had the two, because my daughter, my third child, was born in 2020. Plus, there were no marathons that year anyway. But yeah, once she was born, it just made it a lot more difficult to train for marathons. So, but hopefully, I will again soon.
as long as you keep doing a half, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because I've met some people. They would do it every 4 years. They're doing a marathon. It's really hard to once you get off. It's hard to come back.
It really is.
But that's what we'll talk about a little bit about the injuries and stuff like that. So it's a little different than life when the life happening versus injuries happening. So we can kind of switch up that a little bit. So over the years, while you run in during this time, how was what kind of nutrition what kind of nutrition do you used to do before? Now has it changed your nutrition wise for you? For your training and everything. Let's talk about nutrition just a little bit.
Okay, yeah. I don't think it's really changed a lot. I mean, I generally try to eat pretty healthy, although sometimes with the kids, it's hard. I like to cook a lot, but ever since I've had young kids, I don't cook probably not even half as much as I used to, just because it's hard to find the time to cook. And then they're young, and so when I cook, a lot of times they don't want to eat what I cook, so I end up having to cook something else for them, and so then I don't feel like cooking, 2 different meals. So yeah, I probably don't eat quite as healthy. I mean, I still try to eat healthy, and but yeah, it's hard to do anything the same as you did before you had kids. But yeah, generally I try to eat pretty healthy, and just
kids. Well. I've been there that road. I know it's still hard, but I try to. COVID was good for me because what happened is I learned, I used to cook just, just whatever. And then
Yeah.
over the COVID time, I kind of actually made some dishes that, just really they're craving to eat. She was
Oh, yeah.
my younger was like, when are you cooking that? I was like, I don't cook as much as I used to cook. During the COVID time, like twice, 3 times a week, I used to cook and a different type of food. We have a recipe, and that still exists right now in my family. But it's as they grow. You're in a different time, but as they grow, their taste is
Oh,
change.
yeah.
They changes. The teenager taste is much different than when right now macaroni and cheese will probably their favorite, but
Yes.
wait till the Chick-fil-A and then more
Oh,
other
yeah.
other things will get in, and it just gets then you eat with them, and you're traveling with them, it's easier and so on. So
Yeah.
definitely, and it was hard for me because I turned vegetarian, and
Oh,
vegan
yeah.
vegetarian. So anyway, so yeah, nutrition is important, even whenever, but definitely as a parent of four, you got to do what you got to do. So let's just kind of switch to your social media. I didn't even realize you grew so much in social media. You're almost a million follower, and
God.
I actually like when I messaged you, I was like that. I was thinking 900, and I was like, it's like almost a million followers. You guys like, wow. So tell us about what took you to go to social media.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess I had never thought I mean, I've been a physical therapist for a long time, but I never thought to post anything about physical therapy. I used to do a lot of running posts, basically just my races and just training and everything. And then I think I was just looking through social media and I saw some other people posting, some exercise, some physical therapy videos, and I thought, well, I might as well try some of that because it looks like some people are successful at that, and that's kind of what I'm the expert at. So, I may as well try it. And so I just started posting some exercise videos, and some of them just like went crazy. I think one video got like 40 million views or something. And I was like, is this real? Like most of my posts get like almost no views, or, only the people I really know, they like them. But yeah, so then I just kept doing it, and it's almost been 2 years now, but I don't think I've missed a single day of posting on Instagram. I just post something every day related to injury prevention or sometimes running, and mostly physical therapy. But I realized that I was helping a lot of people, and so I just kept posting, and yeah, it just kind of took off from there.
So you post every day.
I
I don't
do.
know. As big as your platform became, do you have like people to shoot you, or you do it yourself? Looks like you do it yourself.
I do,
So
yeah. I do it all myself, which can be a lot of work sometimes, but I
yeah,
try to do like a bunch of videos at one time. Like I'm not doing videos every single day. So I do
got
like
you.
a bunch at one time and then kind of schedule them out so that I'm not just totally overwhelmed with, making videos every day.
Yeah, it gets overwhelming. For
Yeah.
me, it's like whenever I post like in the morning, like, oh, what do I feel like? And I have like a bunch of videos on my phone, and I just like,
Yeah.
I post it up. Once I go to marathon, I have a lot of videos, and I keep posting
Oh
for
yeah.
week and out. How big is your TikTok? You have been pretty big group and following TikTok as well, correct? So.
I do. I think 300 and something thousand, I think.
Yeah. And Instagram is pretty big. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, I was really, even today, I was like, is that real? So, yeah, so definitely whatever you're doing is working. That's number one, because it's helping people, like you said, and that's what we are here, correct? Helping people, post things, hopefully that can inspire to do things. Let's switch to for physical therapy, injury prevention, let's go as a runner's perspective, and maybe we can look at other perspective too. What are the common injuries you see as for runners? As a runner, let's start from there.
Okay. Yeah, so I think probably the most common is like IT band syndrome, or shin splints, sometimes Achilles tendon problems as well, plantar fasciitis, sometimes hip and low back issues too, strains, or just kind of pain from depending on age too, I feel like, as you get older, things tend to hurt more.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, those are probably the most common. I think IT band syndrome and shin splints are probably the two most common complaints I get from runners.
so why is that? Is that because of the shoes we wear, older shoes, or the place we run? Because sometimes I haven't had a big IT man issue in a very long
Yeah.
time. I shouldn't say that, because tomorrow I'm gonna have that.
I know.
Plantar is one of that was like, oh my God, I call it plantar. I call it greedy runner's injuries because that's what happened to me a couple of times. Because I got greedy and it could run a little bit more than I was supposed to, and then I got plantar. But IT band. So let's talk about that IT band issue. So why that happens?
Yeah, so a lot of times, I mean, it happens from overuse. So, anyone could get it from just running too much, especially if maybe you haven't run for a while and then you start running and you don't gradually ease into running. And I know, I mean, I'm guilty of that too. I'm like, well, I've been running forever, even though I haven't run in a month. So let me just go out and run 8 miles. And I think that happens a lot where you just do too much too quickly. But also the main thing I see with the patients and clients I've seen with it is that their hips, especially the glutes, are weak. And so when those are weak, that just puts excess stress on the outside of the knee. And then that just repetitive running motion, especially if you run, a long distance, if those muscles are weak to start out with, they just get tired. And then that puts more stress on the knee. And then it just irritates that IT band.
Got you. So for exercise, I guess we're not going to do it here today. We've been a lot of. I'm assuming you have those videos out there, correct?
I do. Yeah, I have a lot of hip strengthening videos because I think for a lot of injuries, including plantar fasciitis or any foot and ankle injuries, it all leads back up to the hip. So if you have weak hips or weak glutes, then it really affects your whole leg because you may walk or run okay to start with, but if you do too much, if those muscles are weak, then they get fatigued quickly. And so when they're tired, you change how you run or change how you walk, and then that can lead to pain and injuries.
Got you. And then the plantar itself, not plantar, the IT band itself is very long cord they talk about. It goes all the way. So
yeah.
So that was my actual first injuries when I started running. I was like, what is this? Why I'm hurting here? Because when you're at the beginning, you don't know, right? So you talk about hip, so strengthening the hip is what help. I guess most of our muscles also comes from there. Yeah. Is that important? I guess important part of our body as a runner. Is that what you're saying?
Definitely, yeah. So strengthening those hips, but also when you run, you're always on one leg. So you're never on two legs when you run. So if those muscles are weak, then they can't really support you in like a single leg stance. So it's really important to not just strengthen the hip, but strengthen it doing like single leg movements and even just practicing balancing on one leg. Because most people don't think about it like, when you're running, you're on one leg at a time. And so if your balance isn't good, then, that could affect how you run or that could cause injuries. So yeah, really working on hip strength and then just like single leg balance and stability is important.
Got you. I never thought about you're always in one leg, you're actually, the glide, not like a swimming, you got to use mostly, even in swimming, I think you're using one leg at a time, however it goes. But yeah, that's very good concept. I did buy a platform. I wish I had it here. I'm not going to go get it, but I can stand on it. It's a hard platform, not a soft one. Yeah. I can stand on it, and so I watch TV. But with TV, when I'm standing and watching, and I use that just to balance. So it's been a good investment. So some of those, some of the equipments. I don't want to get into equipments too much yet, but since I'm talking about it, for hip strength and some of the strength that we need to build, is what kind of equipments do you recommend for people to have it? Other than in some of the exercise we do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you need a lot of equipment. I think the thing I use the most is probably like a resistance band. That because you can easily do a lot of exercises at home with those. Because not, I mean, you could go to the gym and do things, but not everyone has time or wants to go to the gym all the time. So I think a resistance band. If you want to buy like a balance board, like you were talking about, I think balancing is good. Or, you could even just get like a foam pad or a pillow and just practice balancing on one leg, just something that's kind of an unstable surface. But I think maybe a set of weights to have at home too. You don't have to have like a huge collection of weights, but just like a set of dumbbells, maybe 10 or 15 pounds, or it depends on the person, I guess. Some people, if they want to lift heavier weights or lighter weights, but one set of dumbbells, a resistance band, and something to balance on, probably the most important things that you could have at home.
Definitely, yeah. I saw some people at Miami Marathon when I was there. There was a group of people came and ran past me. They were wearing a vest, weighted vest, and I've seen others to wear, but at that moment, a group were running marathon, or maybe they were running half. I think some I found they were running marathon.
Okay.
They had a front and back, and they have plated. Those kind of things are they good for us? I mean, I do right now, like just to be in this. I've been doing this, like have a backpack, you know, put a books or something. I just walk around the house, or
Yeah.
or when I'm walking, not running. I have not run on it yet.
Yeah.
It's just a backpack, correct?
Okay.
And just walk around. Are they good for any good comes out of those, or am I overusing my my knees and stuff like that? So
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest running in those. I think some people do, but I think a lot of times that just, yeah, it could put excess stress on your body. And sometimes, if you get tired and you have that on your back, you end up having kind of bad posture.
yeah,
And so I think it's okay to walk around in. I think that actually can help build some strength, but I wouldn't run in them. If you did, maybe a short distance, but too long, and yeah, I think you'd end up having like poor posture, and it might hurt things more than help them.
I've seen people walk with a weight or have a weight ankles and those things. Do you like those kind of things, or do you use any of those? Let's talk about that and adding some extra weight. And we already talked about it a little bit, but can we talk about that?
Yeah. So the ankle weights, I like ankle weights for like exercises and things. Again, I wouldn't necessarily walk around in them. Definitely, I wouldn't run in them because that could definitely affect how you run, and that would probably cause some knee or hip or back injury. I mean, it depends how much weight, but I still wouldn't run in them. I probably wouldn't walk in them either, just because I think it just changes the way that you walk.
Definitely.
And that could lead to injury. I think it's okay to like hold a weight in your hand. I probably wouldn't run with a weight in my hand either, but walking with weights in your hand, that's not going to affect anything. And that could help, build some upper body strength. But yeah, the ankle weights, I would use those for exercises, but yeah, not walking or running.
Yeah, be cautious about it. I always wonder about that, and I do it just a little bit. I started. I in the past I had a 20 pounds, and I never get out of my house. It's always stayed in my house. I'm just living room. I have like open floor plan, and I kind of walk around. I don't do like lately. Last couple of days, I was just walking 3 miles. I walked like yesterday. I walked with 3 miles, and I like maybe do I need to get the vest like those guys had it in Miami? So I was thinking about that. So definitely talk about a little bit. Let's talk about a little bit of plantar, one of those painful plantar. And I was mentioning that's the couple of times I had a plantar issues when I was really greedy or doing stupid thing.
Yeah.
How does that happen, and how do you prevent it? And once it happens, how do you treat it? For me, let me tell you, I know when it happened, but I never know when it goes away. That's the one thing I talk about plantar when people talk about it, because it's very painful.
It is, yeah. And sometimes it's hard to get that to go away. I know I've seen a ton of patients with that, and sometimes it's a really frustrating injury because you feel like you try everything and it doesn't go away. So I think if you do get it, the sooner you try to treat it or make it go away, the better, because it'll go away quickly or more quickly if you haven't had it for very long. But if it goes on for a long time, then it's really difficult to get rid of. But I think one thing is shoes, and sometimes it actually can go away quickly because sometimes people wear shoes too long and they don't realize it. Maybe, I mean, if you're a runner, you tend to change your shoes pretty frequently, but sometimes people will run in shoes or walk in shoes for years and don't realize that they probably should have gotten new shoes a long time ago, and that can actually cause plantar fasciitis pain. And so sometimes getting new shoes actually helps a lot with the pain. But sometimes having a tight calf muscle, so the muscle at the back of your lower leg, if that's tight, that can cause plantar fasciitis. And that's pretty common in runners because I know my calves are tight all the time. So if you have tight calf muscles, that can cause it. Also, if you have weakness in the muscles in the bottom of your feet, and most people don't, if they do any strength training, they don't think, oh, let me strengthen the muscles in the bottom of my feet. That's not really kind of your first thought. They kind of think, oh, like, do I even have muscles in the bottom of my feet? But doing some exercises for those, and I have some on my page, but they're things like picking up a towel with your toes or like scrunching a towel with your toes.
I watched that video actually. I remember watching it.
Yeah. If you watch that, or if you've ever been to physical therapy for plantar fasciitis, you pick up marbles with your toes or you scrunch a towel with your toes. But yeah, so doing things like that. And sometimes your big toe needs to move. And sometimes people have stiff big toes. And if it's stiff, which no one ever realizes unless someone else says, hey, does your big toe move? Then that can cause that too. So those are kind of things you can do to prevent it, is just working on strengthening your foot, working on calf flexibility, and then trying to move your big toe, either with your hand, kind of moving it, or just with your feet flat, seeing if you can lift your big toe off the ground. So that can prevent it, but that can also treat it too.
So talk about that big toe thing. Once in a while, my big toe go like this. It's like, that's after a long run, or like especially when I do trail races or some races.
Yeah.
It's like, and then after, not during, but is that something? I have a cramp or something. It happens very often for me.
Yeah, so that could mean that you need to work on the flexibility of your big toe, but also strengthening your big toe. The big toe is actually really important for running.
Right.
The rest of the toes are important too, but not nearly as important as the big toe. So
things you learn. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Since you talked about it, tell us what's the importance of it. I never heard that. It's the first time I'm hearing it. Somebody saying the big toe is so important.
Yeah, like, so the big toe is really important for balance. So if some people have had their big toe amputated for one reason or the other, and that actually makes it very difficult to walk. You basically have to relearn to walk because your big toe, it like maintains your balance. So you need your big toe to be strong and to be able to move in order to balance on one leg. And then you also need to have a certain amount of flexibility in your big toe. So it needs to be able to basically bend up from the ground, not 90 degrees, but somewhere, close to 90 degrees in order to be able to run effectively. And so if it doesn't, then that can cause pain there and stiffness in your big toe. And that can create injuries in your foot and ankle and even up in your knee, just because your toe isn't moving like it should. So your toe needs to move, or both your big toes need to move enough, and they need to be strong. So it's the funniest thing in the clinic when I've had people, I call it toe yoga, where you have your foot flat on the ground and then you try to lift your big toe by itself and bring it back down and then lift your other toes by themselves. And people have the hardest time doing it because you've never tried that before until someone tells you do that. So if you can't lift your big toe, then you don't have enough strength or you don't have enough mobility in your big toe. So you just need to work on that. And that's one way to work on it, is just try to lift it off the ground by itself.
Wow. Never. I mean, it's always there. I guess it's one of those things like breathing, correct? It's always there. We know it's always there, but until you don't have it, or in this case, it's until you don't realize how important part of your running, whole balance.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
I didn't even know that. So there are a lot of exercise you can do in the big toe, like the towel thing I saw one time you're doing.
Yeah.
Marbles. Okay, I need to go back to look at some of your videos. So try some of those. So definitely, it happens to me because it gets cramped. I'm like, what's happening to me?
Yeah.
So to preventing plantar, so new shoes we talked about, correct? So people wear new shoes. Is there exercise they can do to prevent plantar?
I think mainly just working on that foot strength. So like those towel curls and the marble pickups. And then also just working on like ankle and calf flexibility too. Because I know a lot of people don't stretch as much as they should, especially runners. I mean, I tell people to stretch all the time, but I still probably don't stretch as much as I should stretch. But yeah, if you have enough flexibility in your calf, you're less likely to have plantar fasciitis.
Definitely. One of the thing I call the plantar I've been able to do is I've run ultra marathon on those plantar 100 milers. It hurts, but I call it running injuries.
Yeah.
I'm not, I do wear like a very Hoka shoe, some very comfortable, very cushiony shoes, and I wear my shoes all the time during those time when I have had it. Is it advisable for people to run? Because I do it, and that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So, what do you suggest people to do if they have a plantar?
Yeah. So generally, I don't tell people to stop running if they have plantar fasciitis or really any other injury, unless it. I mean, obviously, if you have a stress fracture, or, you should stop running. But most injuries, if you feel okay running and the pain doesn't get worse and worse and worse while you're running, then I think it's okay to run through. I think in some cases, you may need to decrease the amount of running or decrease the intensity. But in most cases with plantar fasciitis or IT band syndrome or other running injuries, you can keep running. I mean, I do too. And I think it's okay as long as you don't feel like it's getting worse as you run. And a lot of times there are a lot of injuries that maybe feel a little bit better as you run a little more because things get kind of loosened up or warmed up. So yeah, I think it's okay. You're not hurting anything unless you feel like it's getting worse and worse and worse as you run further. Then you should probably stop.
Yeah.
But
If somebody asks me, I tell them don't go full out. Just maybe just take it easy, run the
yeah.
distance, maybe go slower. One other thing, okay, I'll tell you, it's happened to me right this moment. People used to say, I have a knee problem. And I usually said, if you have a knee problem, that's why I don't run. I used to kind of discredit those people.
Yeah.
And what is happening right now, I have a knee problem myself. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to be a hypocrite here, but that's what's happened to me. I had a knee issue. I don't know when it started. Maybe it started last year. I was kind of having a problem. I remember one run I did, and then it started hurting, and then whatever. But after New York City Marathon, and after I did, I was okay. I think it's still hurting, and then really got worse by the time I went to December. Went to Nepal. It was hurting then, and I was at Huntsville. It was really bad. But I came from Nepal. I hardly did anything. And there was many issues I had at Huntsville when I was pacing Huntsville Marathon in December, first weekend. One of my issue I had was that knee problem.
Okay.
And I've been attending, I've been, loosening up. I ran 3 more marathons since then. So, so it hasn't stopped me yet, and I haven't
Yeah.
gone to the doctor yet. So tell me about what are the like for people like me who are having some knee problem, knee issues. What are the exercise we could do, or what kind of prevention we can do? Because I felt like maybe my knee problem is because my muscles getting tighter around my knee, because only one side of my knee is an issue, not both.
Okay.
So so
Yeah. So I would say, well, hip strengthening is important. So I would definitely suggest some hip strengthening, but also quad muscle strengthening too. Um, just because the stronger your hips and your quad muscles and even hamstring muscles in the back of your upper leg, the stronger all those muscles are, the less stress is put on your knee. And so usually strengthening all of that and kind of taking the time to strengthen it, it takes longer than most people think to strengthen a muscle. It's not going to happen overnight, but working on strengthening those muscles will help get rid of that knee pain. And I think, a lot of people say, yeah, oh, you're a runner, you're going to have knee problems. And I think, yeah, sometimes people have knee pain, but it's not knee pain that's going to last forever. There's been a lot of studies. I've seen a lot of patients that have had knee replacements, and 99% of them were not runners. Mm-hmm. And so running doesn't cause arthritis like a lot of people think. And so I try to tell people that too, because, I always hate it when people say, oh, you're a runner? Oh, just wait, you're going to have knee problems when you get older. I'm like, well, hopefully not. They've done so many studies and I've seen hundreds, maybe even thousands of people with knee replacements, and most of them were never runners. There is the occasional runner, and I think they do say the risk of arthritis in your knee is greater if you're an elite runner or if you've been running, over 100 miles a week for a long period of time. But that doesn't describe most runners. I've never run 100 miles in a week. I know you have, because you've done
100 miles itself. So.
But generally, you're not running 100 miles
not for training,
week, right?
no.
Yeah.
I cap out at 60, I think.
Yeah, me too. That's the most I think the most I've ever run is maybe like 65, but I don't feel like I need to run more than that, even marathon training. So, so basically, if you have knee pain and you're a runner or not a runner, strengthening those muscles in your quads and hamstrings and hips will help. And just because you're having knee pain doesn't mean that that's going to lead to a knee replacement or some, major surgery that you have to have. So I try to tell people that, because I think, they feel pain. Maybe they just started running and they feel knee pain and they're like, oh, great, now I'm going to have a knee replacement. But that's not true in most cases.
When I start running, that's what it used to happen. Every time the new pain come that I never have had it, and I get freaked out. And that trend still exists with this knee issue right now. I'm just freaked out. And I saw somebody, and he said, he's asking, how old are you? It's like, are you having arthritis? I was like, man, I don't think this is arthritis. I'm working on it right now, but it hasn't been 100%, but I'm like 80, 85. Like I said, I've run 3 marathons since then. So,
yeah. So you're doing okay.
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'll wait till, and so I have a routine now. So we can talk about that a little. In the evening, watch TV, and then have that routine going. I massage my leg, and so both my sides of the legs. I try to do that more often now. Even yesterday, I was just watching TV an hour, just forget about it and do it. I think I need to add some of the strength training on that, or somewhere I need to add hip training. I need to go watch some of your videos. You can send me some so I can see if I can use some of those. So definitely. So all the injuries, we talked about, there's so many injuries, we cannot, we have an hour of talking here. So in general, as a runner, and we look at a runner's perspective because that's where you and I are runner, but in general, how can people prevent injuries, in running injuries, running related injuries? We talked about hip. What are other things can they do to prevent, common runners' injuries?
Yeah, so I think, strength training is a big one, and not just the hip, but really the whole body. Even though running is mainly, the legs, I think, like we talked about with the vest, even if you don't have like a weighted vest, sometimes people have poor posture when they run, and that can lead to pain in their neck and shoulders. So strength training, kind of the whole body, I think, is a big one. Working on mobility and flexibility too, because I think a lot of runners tend to be stiffer. I know I've always been not that flexible, and some people are more flexible than others, but I think working on a little bit of mobility and flexibility and doing some before you run as well. And I think, when I was younger, I never did anything. I was like, I'm just going to go run. But even just doing like 1 to 2 minutes of a few stretches or just kind of loosening up your legs helps a lot. It helps you feel better, but it also helps prevent, pain and injuries. So those are the big ones. And then just not doing more than you're ready to do, not going from running 1 mile a day to running 10 miles a day. I think most people are aware of that, but some people just think, well, I'll just try it. And I think that's okay in some cases, but it's more likely to lead to an injury if you do too much too quickly. And so, yeah, just kind of ramping up your running gradually. That's mostly the thing. Strength, mobility, just gradual increase, and then changing your shoes often enough too, because sometimes, like I know my mom, she used to run and now she walks, and then she was starting to run again, and she was having some shin splints, and I was like, well, when's the last time you changed your shoes? And she's like, oh, I haven't gotten new shoes in like 2 years. And I was like, Mom, you better get some new shoes. And she's like, well, they look fine. And I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't mean that they're fine on the inside, because obviously everything wears down when you're walking or running. And so, yeah, shoes are a big one too. But I think that's most of how to prevent injuries. And obviously not all injuries can be prevented. Even if you watch football or soccer or really any professional sport and you see injuries and you think, well, how can that happen? They're obviously doing their strength training and mobility and everything, but things happen. You can't prevent everything, but you can try by doing all of these things.
Definitely. As a physical therapist, when do you play a part? And like you do video now for us to watch it. That's different. So when does the physical therapy play a role on injuries? Do we people go to physical therapy before injuries or after injuries? I think most of us go after we have some problem, correct?
Yeah. So in that's like an insurance thing too, because I think that you should and you could go to a physical therapist before you had an injury to prevent injuries. And that's what I like to kind of teach on my page too. But unfortunately, like in the healthcare system, you really can't go to a physical therapist before you have an injury, because then insurance won't cover it. Although there are some cash-based clinics, so you probably could. But I also think not just that, but most people don't think about it until they do have an injury, and then they're like, oh, now I need some help.
Got you. It's not like your yearly physical checkup or dental cleaning,
Right.
eye checkup, nothing like that, correct? So
Right.
thank goodness I haven't had to use any physical therapy, anything
Yeah.
right now. So that doesn't mean anything. As much as I am out there running 15, 16 marathons and ultra marathons in a year, so I have to take care of things. And I guess I need to follow your pace more and then do daily exercise with you. I think that's one of those things. I have to tell myself I need to do some of this routine that you're doing. So tell us about equipments we talked a little bit about earlier, but I do have like this massage gun. I think we bought a few years ago. And then when I go to now and expos, there are a lot of different things they have.
Yeah.
There are small one, big one. They have like I don't know what they have. Like, they like technology has moved on. I think some of them have AI. They were doing something.
Oh yeah.
Phone. Tell us about all this equipments, people. I mean, I have a simple massage gun, but some of them they're high force. I mean, and then they have those leg thing you can put in and sit on it with the compressions. And can you talk about a little bit on that?
Yeah.
What kind of things people should look at it if they want to treat themselves at home?
I think that you don't really need any of that, but all of that can help with, especially if you're having any pain somewhere or you have tightness. I also have a massage gun, and I think it feels good. And
it feels good, definitely.
Yeah, and I think it can help decrease pain. I mean, there's a lot of things like physical therapists in the clinic are like, well, I'm not using modalities because, that's not really helping anything. But honestly, if you're having pain and there's something like a massage gun or like ice or heat or like those compression boots, something that can decrease your pain and make you feel better, then I think that's helping. So even if there's no research to support it and say like that's helping, if you put the massage gun on, maybe your lower back and it makes you feel better, then it's helping you. Some of those things are super expensive, and I don't think that you have to buy anything that's crazy expensive. But if you want to buy something like a massage gun or a foam roller. Foam rollers don't necessarily help everything, and sometimes they can hurt. So I tell people not to foam roll the IT band because it's not doing much, and usually it doesn't feel good. So if it doesn't feel good, there's no point in doing it. But if something feels good, like the massage gun or ice or heat, then yeah, I think I would definitely do it. And sometimes like the compression boots, those are expensive, but if people want those and they feel good, then that can definitely help. So I don't think you have to get anything, but you definitely can. And some of those things definitely help reduce pain levels if you're having pain somewhere.
One of the other thing, as I'm thinking through, like talking about like a marathoner, and then, post-marathon pain, when we are in a Walking Dead, let's kind of go to that part. What should we do after that? One of the things I do after post-marathon these days, I call active recovery.
Yeah.
So I have started using it a lot. When I'm traveling, I walk places,
Yeah.
Last weekend I was in Miami, I was in Fort Lauderdale Beach. I just walked for an hour. I'll be places, even if I'm home, I'm outside walking an hour, 2 hours. So post-marathon, all the lactate build up, they hurt, but it's not injury. So what's the fastest way to get rid of those?
Yeah, so I think you're right. I mean, active recovery is the best. And so just walking, just doing something active, swimming is good. I think a lot of people after a marathon, or even if they're having some kind of knee pain or something, their instinct is to rest and to sit. But if you sit, I mean, if you sit right away after a marathon and you don't move for an hour, when you try to stand up, you can't move. So it doesn't really help you out. You may not feel like moving at first, but active recovery, doing some gentle movement, if it's walking or swimming or even just some gentle stretches, that's going to help you more than anything. You don't want to just sit or lay and do nothing, because once you try to move after that, you're going to be stuck.
One thing I tell you, if you're listening here, new runners, I've done 176, I think that's 176 marathons, ultra marathons in Miami, correct? After Miami, I'm still walking gingerly and gentle, and I'm just like, when I sit down, it's hard to get up. When I get up, hard to sit down. And then I had a friend visiting, and his wife, they're like, "Are you okay, Suman? Can I pick you up?" Or like, no, this is. It's part of the thing that I have to go through. But definitely, it's not. It's always there, correct? No, I don't know how they lead do it, but for me, I'm pacing 5 hours, whatever. The body, the pain always there. You know what I mean? It's not injuries, but it's still there. Yeah. So
no, I agree. Yeah, it's always there. I've never run a marathon and not felt any pain.
So those of you wanted that somebody say, I want to run a marathon and never feel the pain. It's like, that's not possible. Even 5K sometimes I have pain because you just run that fast and then your body's not used to it. So every distance they have that. So definitely, Stephanie, we talked about so many different things. Stephanie, before we close this interview, give words of advice to people who wanted to hear about how to prevent injuries, how to pass through those injuries. Sometimes when it's injured, you're depressed because now you cannot do anything. So give us those words of advice to those people.
Yeah, so like I said, strength training and mobility is probably the most important thing to prevent injuries and to treat injuries. But also know if you're going through an injury or you experience one in the future, it doesn't have to be forever. I know I've seen a lot of patients and they come to me and they think like, oh, I'm never going to get rid of this. But you can. I've treated a lot of people, a lot of runners, and I've had injuries myself too. I mean, I had IT band syndrome too. That was one of the first things I had. And I've had a hip injury before. I mean, I've had a lot of things, and it's not going to end your running career. It's not going to be painful forever. There are things you can do to get rid of it, and you can get through injuries.
Thanks for words of advice, and body will heal, and just have to be nice to it. As a runner, as much abuse we give them, I guess we give them back. We need to give them back. So thanks for joining in your busy schedule. What's the next marathon for you? Or are you doing it? Are you going to plan to run any marathon? Go back to Chicago, maybe?
Yeah, I hope so. So I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I haven't planned my race schedule for this year.
So,
We'll
definitely,
see.
we'll see. Come pace some marathons for me, so or pace with me.
I
So
know.
it's
I should.
pacing is that's what I do. It's easy. You know, even still, you know, maybe a lot easier than racing, but still, you know,
Still hard.
yeah, still hard.
Yep.
Still cover that distance. It's not that easy. So
No, never easy.
thank you. Have a great night,
Yeah.
and thank you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.